She scrubbed the marble, counting coins in her head. The debt throbbed. When she promised to pay, he smiled. Then marry me. An offer or a trap? A cleaning woman, caught between dignity and a chance to turn the page. What if the price of freedom was a ring she never asked for? A meeting, a secret, and a contract that could change everything. Would you say yes, or uncover what he truly wants? Before you hear this intriguing story, subscribe to our channel to receive heartwarming stories daily. The scent of disinfectant burned Elena's nostrils as she pushed the cart down the 12th floor hallway. It was 6 in the morning, and Midtown Manhattan, far below, still slept, but she had learned over the past 8 months to keep her eyes on the marble floor, the brass doorknobs, the details that needed to shine. Looking outside hurt in a way she couldn't name. Her rough hands gripped the microfiber cloth with unnecessary force. Lucia Rodriguez had woken up confused again that morning, calling for Elena's father, dead for 15 years. The stroke had left holes in her mother's memory, holes that expensive medications tried to fill with little success. Elena reached into the pocket of her navy blue uniform and felt the folded paper, the latest pharmacy bill. $1,200, more than she would earn that entire month. The apartment in East New York, Brooklyn, had already received 3 notices from the building management, 5 months overdue. The manager, a woman with thick glasses and a metallic voice, had mentioned foreclosure. Elena understood what that meant. Losing the only place in the world where her mother still recognized her own things. Losing the kitchen where Lucia used to make her famous apple pie on June afternoons before the stroke. Losing the room with that window overlooking the neighbor's yard where an old oak tree grew. That's why she signed. 3 weeks ago, in a cramped office in Lower Manhattan's financial district, where the air conditioner dripped into a plastic basin and a man in a gray suit slid papers across the desk. Promissory note, he said, with a deed of trust as collateral. 8% monthly interest. 30-day term. The lawyer beside him nodded, his Mont Blanc pen gleaming under the white LED light. It all seemed legal. It all seemed the only way out. Elena scrubbed the mirror in Suite 1204's bathroom until her own reflection vanished into the transparency. She didn't like to see herself. The thin face, the deep-set eyes, the brown skin stretched over the bones of her face. She looked 10 years older than her 32. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, smelling the chemical scent of the cleaning product mixed with the expensive perfume that still lingered in the air. Someone important had slept there. Someone who didn't have to choose between food and medicine. Sarah Jenkins, the shift manager, appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand. "Elena, you've got to change today. You'll be covering the penthouses." Joanna called out again. The tone brooked no refusal. Elena merely nodded, tucking her cloth into the cart. The penthouses, where guests left $100 tips under the pillow, where people never had to sign a promissory note with 8% monthly interest. The service elevator climbed slowly, groaning in its old joints. Elena leaned against the cold metal wall, letting her body's weight relax for 3 seconds. Only 3. Then she would be efficient, invisible, perfect again. The 18th floor was different territory. Thicker carpets, denser silence. Even the air seemed cleaner, filtered by some technology she didn't understand. The presidential suite was at the end of the corridor. Elena knocked 3 times. A pause, then 2 more. Protocol. No one answered. She slid the master key card into the lock and pushed the door open carefully. Morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, bathing the room in shades of gold and gray. New York City stretched out below like a sea of concrete and glass. And for an instant, Elena allowed herself to stop and look. The city where she was born, where she had worked her entire life, looked different from up here. She was putting away the used shampoos when she heard the voice. "You can leave the extra towels in the bedroom closet." She turned too quickly, almost knocking over the cart. A man was leaning against the bedroom doorway, in a white robe, hair damp. Never start a conversation. Never exist beyond what was necessary. He took a sip of coffee. "No problem. I should have let you know." His voice was low, controlled. Elena grabbed the towels and walked into the bedroom, feeling the weight of his gaze on her back. When she returned, he was still there, now sitting in the armchair near the window, looking at a laptop. She worked in silence, changing sheets, adjusting pillows, wiping surfaces. His scent was different. Not expensive bottled cologne. It was something subtler. Unscented soap, strong coffee, tiredness. Elena recognized the smell of tiredness. It was on her too, ingrained in her skin, impossible to wash off with soap and water. When she finished, she mumbled, "Good morning," and pushed the cart out. Only at the door did he speak again. "Are you new around here?" Elena stopped, turned partially. "On this floor, yes. I usually work on the lower floors." He nodded, closing the laptop. "I see." Silence. "Good work, by the way. Everything's impeccable." She didn't know how to respond. No one praised her work. Sarah Jenkins complained of errors but ignored perfection. "Thank you, sir." She left before he could say anything more. In the hallway, she leaned her cart against the wall and took 3 deep breaths. 4, 5. Her hands trembled. William Sterling closed his laptop and watched the door where the woman had exited. He knew that look, the tension in her shoulders, the way she moved, quick and silent, occupying the least space possible. He had seen the same posture in employees across dozens of hotels nationwide, in people who worked under too much pressure and too little recognition. But there was something more in her, a fierce determination that showed through even her exhaustion. He stood and walked to the window. Down below, Midtown Manhattan awoke with its characteristic violence of honking horns and hot asphalt. He had been in the city for 3 days, negotiating the partnership between his family's hotel group and the chain that managed this building. It was a good deal, strategic, one that should keep Sterling Hospitality Group competitive in the national market for the next 10 years. But Liam couldn't focus on occupancy spreadsheets and EBITDA projections, not since the board meeting last week. His grandfather, the group's founder, had died 18 months ago. He had left a medieval succession clause, drafted in the 70s, when he still believed family was synonymous with loyalty. The main clause was simple and brutal. Only a stable shareholder, civilly married by the last day of the month, could retain the deciding vote on the board. Liam had 28 days to resolve this. 28 days to find someone willing to marry him for purely administrative reasons, or watch Rob Sterling, his cousin, assume control. Rob. The name alone brought a bitter taste. Vice president, son of his grandfather's younger brother, waiting for years for the chance to turn the group into a fast-profit mill. Mass layoffs, aggressive outsourcing, standardization that would kill each hotel's identity. Liam could not allow it. Not after seeing what his grandfather had built, places where people felt at home, where service was delivered with genuine care, not just mechanical efficiency. But how to explain this to a board of shareholders who only understood numbers? How to say his commitment to the group was genuine, even without a ring on his finger? Liam rubbed his face with his hands. He hadn't slept properly in weeks. The options were few and bad. He could stage a fake relationship with some acquaintance from his social circle, risking the farce leaking out. He could try to overturn the clause in court, But that would take months he didn't have. Or he could accept defeat and watch Rob destroy 3 generations of work. The phone vibrated on the table. A message from Paul Albright, the family lawyer. Rob's mobilizing support on the board. He's saying you're too immature to take over. We need a solution fast. Liam tossed the device onto the sofa and returned to the window. Below, a bus skidded on the avenue's curve, packed with people heading to work. How many of them knew someone like Rob? Someone willing to step on anyone to climb higher. He thought about the woman who had just left. He picked up his phone again and called Sarah Jenkins, the manager. The employee who just cleaned the presidential suite. What's her name? A pause. The rustle of papers on the other end. Elena Rodriguez. Why? Was there a problem, Mr. Sterling? No, no problem. Just curiosity. He hung up before she could ask more. Elena Rodriguez. The name sounded like it belonged to a real person, not the well-dressed simulacra circulating at business dinners. He shook his head, annoyed with himself. He was getting sentimental. The problem wouldn't solve itself, and he had no right to involve strangers in his family complications. He needed to focus, sit down, open the spreadsheet of potential partners Paul had sent, choose the least objectionable name, do what needed to be done. He always did. But that afternoon, when he returned from the meeting with the partner network executives, he found Sarah Jenkins in the lobby, speaking in a low voice with a man in a black shirt and a gold chain around his neck. The manager looked tense. The man spoke quickly, gesticulating with his hands. Liam couldn't hear, but he saw when Sarah pointed towards the service elevator, and the man headed in that direction. Something was wrong there. Very wrong. He waited 5 minutes and followed. The back hallway was narrow, smelling of detergent and kitchen grease. Voices came from a half-open door. He approached and recognized the voice of the woman from the morning. "I'll pay. I just need more time." The response was a short, humorless laugh. "Time is what you don't have, Elena. 30 days was the agreement." 24 have already passed. 6 days. Then we're going to East New York and putting a sign on the door. Your mama will have to find somewhere else to live. Elena tasted metal in her mouth. Fear had a flavor. This was what nobody told you. She clasped her hands behind her back so Tony wouldn't see them tremble. 6 days. I can do it. Her voice came out steady, miraculously steady. Tony, the collector the loan shark sent every week, stepped closer. He smelled of cigarettes and cheap cologne. "You say that every time, but the money never appears, does it?" He leaned against the wall, blocking her way out. $75,000, with the interest. Do you have it? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Both of them knew the answer. Tony sighed theatrically. "Look, I even like you. Hard worker, honest. But business is business. You signed the paper. Put up your apartment as collateral. Now it's pay up or hand over the keys." He held out a dirty card. "This one's for a consultant. He facilitates the transition. Helps you find a cheaper place for you and your mother. How about it?" Elena took the card with fingers that didn't feel like her own. She read the name printed on it. Fast Track Transitions, Home Solutions. The room spun slightly. She blinked, forcing herself to focus. 6 days. I'll get it. Tony shrugged. "I'm rooting for you, really. But if it doesn't happen..." He ran a finger along the wall, as if measuring the place. "This apartment must be worth about $200,000 on the market. Enough to clear your debt and still have some left over. Everyone wins." That's when a deep voice cut through the hallway. "She said she'll pay." Both of them turned. Liam Sterling stood in the doorway, dark suit, tie loosened, his eyes fixed on Tony. The collector frowned. "Who are you?" Liam didn't answer. He looked at Elena. Is everything all right here? She wanted to scream that no, nothing was all right. Nothing had been all right for months, but she nodded. It's fine. Just a private matter. Tony smiled, but it was a crooked smile. Oh, boyfriend showed up? How romantic. He looked Liam up and down. You gonna pay her debt? 75 grand. I have the bill right here. I accept transfer. Liam didn't take his eyes off Elena. Do you need help? The question was simple, direct, and carried a weight Elena couldn't measure. No, she said, too quickly. Thank you, but no, I'll handle it. He nodded slowly. Right, but if you change your mind. He pulled a card from the inside pocket of his jacket, held it out. Elena looked at the white rectangle as if it were a trap. Liam Sterling, CEO, Sterling Hospitality Group, cell phone number, corporate email. She took it, just so he would leave, just so Tony would stop smiling that way. Thank you. Liam gave a slight nod and walked away, his steps firm on the worn linoleum. Tony waited until he disappeared around the corner. Who was that? Elena tucked the card into her pocket. A guest. No guest. Guests don't come down to the service alley. Was he following you or something? She didn't answer. Tony scoffed. Whatever. 6 days, Elena. After that, it won't be me coming. It'll be worse trouble. He walked away whistling, his leather boots clicking on the concrete. Elena stood there, alone in the corridor that smelled of disinfectant and old fryer grease. She pulled the card from her pocket and read it again. CEO. She knew who he was. Everyone did. The Sterling Group owned hotels in a dozen states. The partnership he'd come to negotiate had been the subject of a general meeting last week, and now he had witnessed the worst humiliation of her life. Elena didn't sleep that night. She sat in the plastic kitchen chair, listening to Lucia's labored breathing from the next room. Their apartment in East New York, Brooklyn was small. 2 rooms, a tiny bathroom, a utility area that was more like a closet, but it was theirs. Her mother had bought the place with the compensation she'd received when the textile factory closed 20 years ago. Every brick there was soaked in sweat and pride, and Elena was about to lose everything. $75,000. She did the math again for the 100th time. Base salary, $2,400. September overtime, $320. Average tips for the month, $80. Total, $2,800. Less Lucia's medication, $1,200. Less the overdue HOA fees, which she'd paid in 3 installments, $400. Less food, electricity, gas, water, $500. $100 remained. $100 to live on for the rest of the month. No magic could fix it. No extra shift, no weekend gig, no junk sale would even come close to that amount. The math was cruel in its simplicity. She couldn't pay. Never could. The loan shark knew it when he offered the loan. The lawyer in the suit knew it when she signed. It was a perfect trap, greased by desperation, and she had plunged in headfirst. Her cell phone vibrated on the table. A text from Sarah. Tomorrow you're back on the lower floors. Joanna's back. Elena read it twice. Back to the lower floors. Away from the penthouses. Away from the big tips. Away from any possibility of earning extra cash. She typed OK and dropped the phone. The screen glowed for a few more seconds, then darkened, reflecting her tired face. Elena took the card Liam Sterling had given, twirled it. Elegant font, thick paper, cost more than her daily wage. What man descended to the hotel's back entrance to intervene in debt collection? Offered help to an employee he barely knew. Elena didn't trust free generosity. Kindness, she'd learned, always had a price. His voice, though, was different. No pity. Respect. as if she deserved choice. She put the card in the kitchen drawer, with overdue bills and apartment papers. Went to her room, lay on thin mattress, still dressed. Lucia snored softly. Comforting sound. Mother alive, another day. Elena closed eyes, trying to sleep, but Tony Mancini's voice echoed, 6 days, and Liam Sterling's, do you need help? Liam stayed awake late too, for different reasons. His suite's makeshift office, laptop open, screen glowing. Potential partner spreadsheet, 17 names, 14 discarded. 3 socialites remained, theoretically accepting marriage of convenience. Paula Hayes, car dealership heiress. Fiona Lewis, fashion mogul. Beatrice Collins, corporate attorney. All intelligent, ambitious. All terribly wrong. Not romantic compatibility. Liam wasn't naive, didn't expect love from business arrangement. Knew those women, their families. Technical marriage inside Sterling hospitality. None would accept being paper wife. Demands, positions, interferences. When period ended, divorce meant war. He couldn't risk that. Not with Rob already digging trenches on the board. He closed the laptop. City outside, mosaic of yellow lights and dark windows. He thought of Elena Rodriguez, how she'd faced collector, trembling. Her firm refusal when he offered help. Pride. She had pride. Liam understood. Only thing left when all else gone. He knew people who lost fortunes but clung to pride, recognized raw strength it required. He picked up his cell phone and called Paul. Midnight. The lawyer answered on the 3rd ring, voice raspy with sleep. Liam, what's wrong? Sorry for the hour. I have a hypothetical question. A pause. This doesn't sound good. It's legal. A civil marriage to fulfill a succession clause. No emotional involvement. An ironclad prenuptial agreement. A fixed term. Is it viable? Silence on the other end. Then a long sigh. Technically, yes, as long as it doesn't constitute fraud. The terms need to be transparent. Liam stood, walking to the window. And what if the person receives something in return? Not direct money, but, help with a personal situation? Paul hesitated. It depends. If it constitutes payment for the marriage, it's complicated. But if it's an indirect benefit, offered in good faith, maybe. What situation is that? I don't know yet, I'm just thinking. A lie, he knew exactly. Are you out of your mind? Could be. Liam, you can't just go around proposing marriage to random people. It's not random. It's calculated. Silence again. When Paul spoke, his tone was cautious. Look, I understand the situation is tight, but this could go very wrong. Rob will investigate. If he discovers it was a setup, you lose everything. And the person who agrees to this, you have to trust them completely. You need to be sure they won't change the rules mid-game. I know. Do you really know? Liam leaned his forehead against the cold glass. No, but I have to try. The next morning, Elena returned to the 12th floor. Sarah greeted her with a folded task list and a look that said, "Don't ask me anything." Elena didn't ask. She grabbed her cart, checked the product stock, and started her routine. Room 1201. Elderly ladies who left lavender sachets under their pillows. 1203. A businessman who asked for extra towels and never used them. 1205. A family with small children who turned the bathroom into a war zone. She cleaned on autopilot, hands moving, brains switched off. It was the only way to cope. If she stopped to think, she would panic. 5 days now. Tony hadn't returned, but that didn't mean relief. It meant they were waiting for the deadline. On Monday, she would have to face them again. And this time, there would be no negotiation. The apartment would be foreclosed. Lucia would be evicted. and Elena would have to decide between the streets or some impossible favor from a kind-hearted stranger. It was late afternoon, the sun sinking red behind the skyscrapers, when Sarah Jenkins called her over in the hallway. "Someone's waiting for you in the lobby." Elena frowned. "Who?" "Didn't say, but he's in a suit. Looks important." The manager eyed her suspicious. "If it's trouble, Elena, you'd better handle it outside the hotel." "It's not trouble, I don't think." She abandoned her cart and took the guest elevator down, a luxury she never afforded herself. The lobby was all marble and chandeliers, filled with well-dressed guests speaking English and Spanish. Liam Sterling stood near the reception desk, his back to her, looking at his phone. When she approached, he turned. "Elena." The name sounded strange in his voice, formal and intimate at once. "Mr. Sterling." She kept her distance. "Has something happened?" "I need to speak with you about what happened yesterday." Heat rushed to her face. "You don't need to. It was embarrassing, I know, but it won't happen again. I'll take care of it." "I know you will, but perhaps we can take care of it together." Elena looked around. Two receptionists watched, pretending not to. Sarah Jenkins appeared at the office doorway, arms crossed. "Not here," she murmured. Liam nodded. "There's a coffee shop 2 blocks from here. 15 minutes, just to talk. No commitment." He held out a piece of paper, an address written by hand. Firm hand, no flourishes. "If you don't come, I understand, but I think it's worth hearing what I have to say." She took the paper, folded it, put it in her pocket. 15 minutes. He left before she could change her mind. Sarah Jenkins came up to her. "Who was that?" "A guest." "A guest looking for you in the lobby?" "Elena, you know client relationships are grounds for a warning." "It's not a relationship, it's something else." "What something?" Elena didn't answer. She went back up, grabbed her bag, said she was leaving, and walked out before anyone could ask more questions. The coffee shop was small, filled with plants and natural light. Liam was at a corner table, 2 coffee cups in front of him. She sat without taking her bag off her shoulder. "What do you want?" Direct. No pretense. He took a deep breath. "I need to get married, civilly, for legal reasons involving my family's company, and you need time and protection to resolve your situation. I think we can help each other." Elena stared at him, trying to understand if he was joking. He wasn't. Liam Sterling's face was serious, almost solemn. He waited for an answer. She picked up a coffee cup, more to have something to hold than to drink. The liquid was too hot. It burned her tongue. "You're asking me to marry you." It wasn't a question. It was a realization, slow, testing the weight of each word. "Yes." "Because of a company clause." "Yes." She set the cup down. "Are you insane? We don't even know each other." "I know," Liam said. "But sometimes the best partnerships aren't built on emotion. They're built on mutual interest. Transparent, honest." Liam leaned forward. "Let me explain. My grandfather died last year. He left a statute stating that only a married person can maintain control of the company. I have less than a month to resolve this. If I don't, my cousin Rob takes over, and he'll dismantle everything my grandfather built. Mass layoffs, precarity, asset stripping." He paused. "Including the people who work at my hotels, like you." Elena felt her stomach clench. "Is this blackmail?" "No. It's context. I won't pressure you. You can get up now and leave, and I will respect that. But I want you to understand, this isn't some whim of mine. It's a necessity. And I thought, since you're also in a difficult situation, perhaps we could make an arrangement that benefits us both." He pulled a leather brief from the chair beside him. "I had my lawyer prepare a draft, a prenuptial agreement. Complete separation of assets. No access from me to your apartment, your routine, your salary. You keep working, keep living your life. The only thing that changes is that on paper, we're married. For 6 months. After that, an amicable divorce. All transparent. Elena opened the brief. The pages were dense, filled with numbered clauses. She didn't understand half the legal terms. And what do I get out of this? Liam didn't hesitate. Time. Legal protection. As long as you are my wife, on paper, any attempt to seize your apartment will have to go through a much more complicated process. And 6 months is enough time for you to negotiate with the creditor, contact legal aid, find a way out. Furthermore, he paused. I'll pay off the debt. She felt the ground fall out from under her. No, I can't accept that. Why? Because then I'd owe you, and a debt to a rich man is worse than a debt to a loan shark. At least with the loan shark. I know the price. Liam shook his head. It's not a debt. It's part of the arrangement. You marry me. You solve my succession problem. I pay off your debt. I give you time to get organized. After 6 months, we each go our separate ways. No repayments, no interest, nothing. Elena laughed. It was a dry, joyless sound. You think I believe that? That you, a CEO, will marry me, pay my debt, and then let me go without asking for anything in return? She stood up. I might be poor, but I'm not an idiot. She picked up her bag. Liam stood too. Wait. His voice was urgent now. Listen, I understand your distrust. I understand it sounds too good to be true, but think about it. If I wanted to exploit you, there would be much easier ways. I wouldn't need to offer you marriage. I could simply offer you money, or a better job, or anything else. This is different. It's a contract, with witnesses, legally binding. You won't be helpless. She stopped at the door. She looked back. Why me? You know plenty of rich people. People from your class. Why choose a cleaner? Liam hesitated. When he answered, his voice was lower. Because you are the first person in a long time I've seen with real dignity. You refused help even when you needed it. And I need someone like that. Someone who won't try to manipulate me later. Someone who keeps their promises. Elena went home that night, carrying the leather folder. Lucia Rodriguez was sleeping when she arrived. The apartment in East New York, Brooklyn was silent. Only the distant sound of hip-hop or R&B coming from the neighbor's house. She sat in the kitchen and opened the folder again. She read each clause, slowly, underlining the words she didn't understand. There was an attached letter from Liam's lawyer, explaining the terms in simple language. Complete separation of assets. No property division. No inheritance rights. No cohabitation requirement. The marriage is legally valid, but functions as an administrative partnership. She closed her eyes. She tried to imagine what it would be like. Marrying a man she barely knew. Signing papers at the city clerk's office. Wearing a ring. Pretending before the world that they were a couple. The idea was absurd, impossible. But no more absurd than losing her home and throwing her mother out onto the street. No more impossible than working 3 shifts and still not being able to pay a debt that grew 8% each month. The truth, stark and brutal, was that she had no real choice. She had the illusion of choice, and Liam Sterling knew it. But there was something in the way he had spoken. The raw honesty. The lack of pretense. He hadn't tried to romanticize it. He hadn't tried to make it seem like he was doing charity. He laid the terms on the table and let her decide. This was different. Elena didn't know how to deal with it. She was used to people who lied, who hid things, who promised and didn't deliver. Liam seemed to operate on a different logic. A logic where contracts meant something, where a given word carried weight. Elena picked up her phone. His number was on a card attached to the folder. She typed it, deleted it, typed it again. Finally, she sent the message. I have conditions. The reply came in less than a minute. Speak. She took a deep breath and started typing. First, the contract must ensure you can never demand anything beyond what's written. No sexual favors. No obligation to appear in public more than necessary. No pretending to be in love. Agreed. Second, I pay my own debt. You can lend me the money, interest-free, but I will pay it back, with my salary. It might take years, but I will pay it. A pause. Elena, you don't have to. I do, for me. I don't want charity. I want an agreement. All right, agreed. Third, if at any point you try to control me, humiliate me, or use this against me, the contract is void. I walk away, and you lose what you need from the clause. Fair. Anything else? She looked toward the bedroom where Lucia slept. Fourth, my mother cannot know. She won't understand. And I don't want her to spend the last years of her life thinking I sold myself. I understand. We'll maintain discretion. Elena put the phone down on the table. She watched the screen until the light faded. Then she picked up a pen and signed, by hand, at the end of the contract. Full name. Social Security number. Date. She took a picture and sent it to him. Monday at the city clerk's office. 8 o'clock. The reply was immediate. Agreed. She slept that night without dreams. For the first time in months, sleep came heavy and complete. It wasn't peace. It was exhaustion. But it felt like enough. The city clerk's office was in Lower Manhattan, in an old building with high windows and parquet floors. Elena arrived 15 minutes early, wearing the only business attire she owned, black pants and a white shirt. Liam was already there, accompanied by a man in glasses who introduced himself as Paul, the lawyer. There was also a woman in a gray suit, the clerk, who greeted them with distant formality. Everything's ready. Did you bring the documents? Elena handed over the papers. Liam did the same. The clerk reviewed them, stamped them, and asked them to sign in 3 different places. It was quick. Terrifyingly quick. In 20 minutes, Elena Rodriguez became Elena Sterling. The wedding band Liam brought was simple, silver, without a stone. He placed it on her finger carefully, as if afraid to hurt her. Done, said the clerk. You are officially married. Congratulations. There was no kiss, no toast. Liam shook her hand, formal, and Paul offered congratulations with a polite smile. Elena felt as if she were watching everything from outside her own body. They stepped out of the city clerk's office into a gray morning of fine drizzle. Paul Albright said goodbye and got into an Uber. Liam stopped on the sidewalk, hands in his pockets. Now what? Elena looked at the ring on her finger. Now I go back to work. You go back to the hotel. We go on with our lives. Just like that? That's what we agreed to, wasn't it? He nodded. It was. But he paused. There's a problem. What? Rob, my cousin. He's going to investigate. When he finds out we got married, he'll try to prove it was a fraud. We need a story. Something to explain how we met, how it all happened. Elena felt the weariness hit again. You've thought of everything, haven't you? I have to think. That's how I operate. He took his phone from his pocket. I'll send you a script. Nothing complicated. Just the basics. We met at the hotel. Talked a few times. Developed feelings. Decided to get married quickly because life is short. He smiled. She called Elena that afternoon, her voice sharp with suspicion. Is it true? You married William Sterling? There was no point in lying. It's true. Elena, you understand the problem, right? Conflict of interest. You work in a hotel that's finalizing a partnership with your husband's company. This could lead to accusations. I won't ask for any favors. I'll keep working the same. Nothing changes. It does, yes. Everything changes. I'll have to report it to HR. They'll decide if you stay or not. HR decided she could stay, but with conditions. No favoritism, no contact with Liam during working hours. Any deviation would result in immediate termination. Elena signed the agreement and returned to work. The news leaked among colleagues that same day. Glances shot across the room. Whispers. She married the boss. Must have played her cards right. Bet she's pregnant. Rich now, huh? Going to quit cleaning and become a lady? She ignored them. She did what she always did. Head down, work well done, silence. But at night, alone in her East New York, Brooklyn apartment, Elena cried in the shower where no one could hear. Not from sadness, from fear. Fear that it would all collapse. Fear that Liam would change his mind. Fear that the city clerk had made a mistake and the marriage wasn't valid. Fear that Tony Knuckles Mancini would return. Fear that nothing ever would be enough. Rob Sterling found out about the marriage on a Monday through an internal memo Liam sent to the board. I hereby inform you that in compliance with the succession clause established by the founder, I have fulfilled the requirement of civil stability. A marriage certificate is attached. Rob read it 3 times. Then he called everyone he knew, society columnists, gossip blogs, lawyers specializing in corporate governance. He bought a bride, a cleaner. It's fraud. It can't be valid. The first article broke 2 days later. Sterling Hotel's heir marries employee in haste. Legitimacy questioned by experts. It featured a photo of Elena leaving the hotel in her uniform, looking at the ground. There was a picture of Liam at an old event in a tuxedo. The comparison was cruel and intentional. Rob didn't stop there. He triggered an extraordinary audit of the hotel's operations in New York, alleging irregularities and possible conflicts of interest. The preliminary report was devastating. It cited failures in inventory control, negligence in cleaning. It recommended immediate cuts. Elena was called to HR a week later. The department head, Ms. Davies, a woman in a navy blazer and pearl earrings, looked serious. Elena, the audit identified issues on your shift: missing cleaning supplies, poorly sanitized rooms. Do you have anything to say? Elena felt her blood boil. That's a lie. I record everything. I have a notebook with times, materials used, sign-offs for verification. I can prove it. A notebook? Ms. Davies seemed skeptical. In some cases, even photos she took with her phone after finishing a room, to ensure no one could complain later. Miss Davies flipped through, impressed. This is very detailed. It's necessary. Elena pointed to a specific date. Here, the 15th. The audit says disinfectant was missing. But I used 3 liters. It's right here, look. With Sarah Jenkins' signature confirming the requisition. How could it have been missing? Miss Davies picked up the phone. She called IT, asked for access to the inventory system logs. An hour later, Letitia, the accounting analyst, brought a spreadsheet. There's something strange here. The purchase orders don't match the entries, and there was external access to the system from an IP that wasn't from here. They traced it. The IP belonged to a consultant hired by Rob, a man who received off-the-books payments to alter figures, to make it seem like the hotel was poorly managed, to justify cuts, to bring down Elena, and through her to bring down Liam. When Liam saw the proof, he called an emergency board meeting. Rob tried to deflect. It was a mistake, overzealousness. I just wanted to ensure everything was proper. But the numbers didn't lie, nor did the emails IT found, nor the tracked payments. The board voted. Rob was suspended, preemptively. Until a full investigation could be conducted, He left the room, his face red, pointing at his cousin. "You'll regret this. This isn't over." Liam didn't respond. He just watched until Rob disappeared down the corridor. That night, Liam went to East New York, Brooklyn, for the first time. He knocked on Elena's apartment door at 8. She opened it, surprised. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to see you, in person." He stepped inside when she gave way. The apartment was smaller than he imagined, simpler, but it had something to it. Warmth, life, family photos on the wall, the smell of homemade food. Lucia was sleeping in the bedroom. He saw the door ajar, the small woman beneath the blue blanket. Elena crossed her arms. "Rob lost. You won. Wasn't that what you wanted?" "Oh, it's not about winning or losing. It's about doing what's right, and you did it. You exposed the fraud. You saved your job. You saved a lot of people's jobs." He stepped closer. "But more importantly, you showed me something I had forgotten. That dignity isn't about money. It's about doing what's right, even when no one is watching. Even when it's easier to give up." She felt her eyes burn. She blinked quickly. "You didn't just come here to say that." "No, I came to say that this arrangement, this contract we made, for me, it stopped being just an arrangement. I respect you, Elena. In a way, I respect almost no one. And if you want, when the 6 months are over, we can undo everything. Or," he paused, in a way she couldn't name. "You're crazy." "Probably. And I am too, because I'm considering it." She smiled. For the first time in months, she truly smiled. "All right, let's try, but without rushing and without lying. If it's going to work, it has to be real." "Agreed." Liam extended his hand. She squeezed it, and it was different from the handshake at the city clerk's office. It was the promise of two survivors who found, amidst the chaos, something neither of them was looking for. Something that maybe, just maybe, was worth protecting.